Hello everyone, my name is Keely. Welcome to my channel. Welcome back if you've been here before. Today I'm going to talk about all of my 2023 goals and my TBR for the year. So I'm going to go ahead and start with my goals for 2023, and the first goal is how many books do I want to read this year? So I always set my reading goal at 52 books because there are 52 weeks in the year, so that's a book per week. Now for years past I have smashed that goal out of the water, but I don't know what this year has in store for me. I am hoping to get a new job, and the job I have currently allows me to read a lot, but other jobs may not allow for that reading time. So right now I'm going to stay at 52 books, which means my first goal other than that is to read 4 books a month, because usually months have 4 weeks in them, and so I want to read at least 4 books each month. Goal number 2 is for NetGalley, and I want to read at least 15 NetGalley books. Now my NetGalley percentage is horrible. Now some people come on here and they say it's horrible and they're like, oh, my percentage is like 63%. No girl, mine's like 17%. And so I really need to stay on top of NetGalley. I really need to stop requesting books that I'm not going to get to right away. So I want to read at least 15 NetGalley books. And moving on to goal number 3, I want to read at least 15 new releases. So I keep a list on my phone of all the new releases I am looking forward to. So I want to read at least 15 of those. Last year I did a really good job of staying on top of all the new releases I wanted to get to. So this year I am setting that at 15. For goal number 4, I want to complete 10 series. So last year I completed 9 series, and this year I want to complete 10 series. I am currently in the middle of quite a few, so 10 seems like a good thing for me to do, especially because I do have a lot of series that I physically own, and so those are some series that I definitely want to get to. Speaking of finishing series, goal number 5 is specifically to finish the Throne of Glass series. I have been reading Throne of Glass since probably 2014, 2015, and throughout the last year I have been rereading the books so I could finally finish them. I only have 1 book left, and that is Kingdom of Ash, and if you've watched any of my recent videos or any of my videos from this year, I am not having a great time. I have started out loving the series and now I hate the series, and 1 more book to go and it is the longest book, so I am really not looking forward to it, but since I've been reading the series for so long, it is such a big goal of mine to finally complete it. Following it up with another series goal, goal number 6 is to catch up with the Shadowhunter Chronicles books. I am severely behind. I don't even know how many I need to read. I am still reading the Dark Artifices trilogy. I only have 1 book left in that, but similar to Throne of Glass, I am not enjoying the Dark Artifices. It is actually my least favorite that Cassandra Clare has written so far, but I have 1 book left and then I can carry on. But this year I definitely want to catch up with all of my Shadowhunter friends. Now goal number 7 is that 50% of the books that I read in 2023, I want them to be from my physical TBR. So right now I have just over 200 physical TBR books, and I've been reading a lot from my Kindle and from my library, which is really great, but I also really do want to take down my physical TBR. So at the end of the year, I want 50% or more of the books I have read to be from my physical shelves. And finally, the last goal that I want to complete is not really one that I want to complete, it's just something I want to be aware of throughout the year, and that's to not hesitate to reach for the bigger books just because I want to read more books. I feel like within this last year, I didn't read these big, massive books that I wanted to get to because I was so concerned with reading quantity over quality. And don't get me wrong, I still read some great books, but there are so many books out there that I was like, I don't want to pick that up because I could read 3 books in the time it takes me to read that 1 book. So this next year, I really want to focus on, it doesn't matter how many books I read, if that book is 800 pages, go ahead and pick it up. Alright, so now I'm moving into the actual TBR I have for 2023. I have 12 books I want to show you because that means if I read 1 book a month, then I will have completed this TBR, and a lot of these books are popular books and I've also owned them for so long. So starting out with probably the most popular is A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas. Now I know that this is a Fae series and it starts out as kind of a Beauty and the Beast retelling. I know we follow characters Feyre and Rhysand, I believe, and Feyre does something and she has to go live with the Fae. That's all I really know. I'm not excited about this. Like, if you've heard me talk about this before, you know I'm not looking forward to it because I am no longer liking the Throne of Glass series because of the Fae, and Fae are some of the worst characters that have ever been brought into existence in my opinion, and this series is all about Fae. So I'm hoping I can look past that and still enjoy it because I know it is so highly acclaimed and so very loved, so hopefully it surprises me. Next, I have one of those big books that I've been talking about, and that is Queen of Air and Darkness by Cassandra Clare. This is book 3 in the Dark Artifices trilogy. And like I said, it's not my favorite of hers. The second book was like my least favorite book of hers, so I'm really worried about this one. It's also massive, but it is on my January TBR, so hopefully I get to it at the beginning of the year. Next, I have The Diviners by Libba Bray. Now, I know this is kind of like a ghost story horror series set in the 1920s, so that's very intriguing to me. It is kind of a bigger series as well, but I have owned it for so long, and I just feel like I'm gonna love it because it is spooky and like horrifying. I've heard some people are actually like scared of this series, so that intrigues me so much. Next, I have Daughter of Smoke and Bone by Laini Taylor. I have forgotten anything I have ever learned about this book because I've owned it for so long. I want to say there's angels, but I don't even know if that's true anymore. But yes, I own the whole trilogy, and so I definitely want to get to it. I've just owned it for years and years and years, and it's really about time. Next, I have a classic, and if you know me, I don't like classics. I just don't have enough brain cells for them, so it's kind of odd that this is on my list, but that is Dracula by Bram Stoker. If I'm gonna go by Vampirekeeley, I need to read one of the OG vampire stories, and that is Dracula. I'm really nervous for it because it is a classic, but a lot of people I've seen read it say that it is very easy to get into and understand, so I'm hoping that is the case for me. Next, I have one that I have owned for probably one of the longest on my shelves, and that is Ready Player One by Ernest Cline. I believe this is like a dystopian sci-fi future. There's video games involved, and you have to find something in the video game to win money, I think it is. But if it is dystopian, that sounds really intriguing to me. I also love the video game aspect. I haven't read a lot of books with that in the story itself, but like I said, I have owned this one probably the longest, and it is still unread, and it's on my TBR every year, so hopefully this is the year. Next, I have another dystopian, and I just feel like I'm gonna love it, and that is Scythe by Neal Shusterman. I have read many Neal Shusterman books before, and I have loved every story he's written so far, so I feel like this is gonna be no different. This is set in a dystopian world where people don't die, so people have these jobs called scythes where they go out and kill people, so sounds intriguing. I love dystopian. Next, I have Magnus Chase and the Gods of Asgard, Book 1, The Sword of Summer by Rick Riordan. This is one of Rick Riordan's series. This is about Norse mythology, I believe. I am so behind on Uncle Rick's books, so I really want to get caught up this year, and this is the one that I put on my TBR. Next is the start of another series, and that is A Darker Shade of Magic by V.E. Schwab. All I know about this series is that it is fantasy, and there are 4 Londons, I believe, and they all have different magic. That's all I know. But I'm hoping that I really love it. I have read something from this author before, and I really did enjoy it, so I'm hoping this one is good for me too. Another Laini Taylor book I want to get to is Strange the Dreamer by Laini Taylor. This is a duology, and it is so beloved. My mom has read this, and she really liked it, and I know a lot of my friends love this as well. But I'm worried because I've heard that the writing is very beautiful and flowery, and I tend to not get along with flowery writing, so we'll see if I can hang on with this one. Next, I have The Chemist by Stephanie Meyer. I have owned this one for so long, and the only reason that I got it is because it's Stephanie Meyer from Twilight. I have never heard anyone talk about this book. I believe this is actually like a crime book. Yeah, it says she used to work for the US government, but very few people ever knew that. So there's something mysterious going on here. Hopefully I figure it out. And the last book I have on my 2023 TBR is a young adult contemporary romance, and that is Save the Date by Morgan Matson. I have loved every Morgan Matson book that I've ever read. I am a little bit behind on hers. I have 2 books of hers that I need to read, and this one in particular came out a few years ago and I still haven't read it. This one is all about weddings, and I believe how everything can just go wrong during a wedding, but I'm very much looking forward to this one. Now, moving on to series that I want to complete in 2023, I have 7 on my list. Like I said, my goal for the year is to complete 10, but these are the 7 that I definitely want to complete. So a lot of these books are books that you just saw on my TBR because a few of them are last books in series, and the first one that I want to complete is Queen of Air and Darkness, once again by Cassandra Clare. This is book 3 in the trilogy, so this is the last book I have to read to complete this trilogy, so hopefully I can do it. Next, like I said, one of my big goals is to complete the Throne of Glass series, so in order to do that, I need to read Kingdom of Ash, which is the last book in the series. It is also the biggest book. I think it is like over 900 something pages. Yeah, it's like 970 pages or something ridiculous like that. I just know I'm not gonna love it, but I'm gonna vlog my experience because I think it is gonna be hilarious. Next, I have the Stalking Jack the Ripper series by Carrie Maniscalco, and I have 2 books to read in order to complete that. So I have Escaping from Houdini and Capturing the Devil. So just 2 more books to go to complete this quartet. There are 4 books in this series. I obviously have read the first 2. I enjoyed Stalking Jack the Ripper, and Hunting Prince Dracula was one of my favorite books of 2022, so I have high hopes for these 2 books. Next is A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J Maas. I believe there are 5 books out in this series, but I don't know how many are going to be out in total, so I don't know if it's possible for me to complete this one this year, but I know that the first 3 were originally a trilogy, and then there's kind of that filler book, and then it goes on to other books, so maybe if I just complete the first 3, I'll be satisfied. And once again, we have The Sword of Summer by Rick Riordan. This is a trilogy, I believe, so there's only 3 books, so hopefully I can complete it. And again, a book you've already seen is Daughter of Smoke and Bone by Laini Taylor. Once again, this is a trilogy, and I feel like trilogies are pretty easy to knock out, so hopefully I enjoy this one and can knock it out really quickly. And the last series that I want to complete in 2023 is The School for Good and Evil by Saman Shinani. Now, this series actually has like 6 books total, but it is broken up into 2 trilogies. So this is the 3rd book in the first trilogy, and that is what I'm counting as completing the series, because the second trilogy is like The School for Good and Evil Camelot years. So this is the first trilogy. I've read the first 2 books. I loved the first one. The second one was just okay, so I'm hoping this 3rd one really brings it home for me. So those are all my goals and my TBR for 2023. Like I said, I'm sure I'm going to be adding more to the list, but that is what I'm starting out with. Let me know your goal for 2023 and how many books that you want to get to. I would love to know. But if you have made it this far in the video, go ahead and leave a little cherry emoji. But that is it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. As always, all my social media links will be down below, and I will see you next time. Bye!